Jaden McDaniels signed for 5 years, 136, your former teammate. You've had nothing but awesome things to say about him. So I don't think you're surprised by that deal at all, right?
No, I mean, I've been talking about him being defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right on cue. He's a talented young player. I think this sign was also them locking down their future for a while. The Timberwolves will be a playoff team for the forthcoming, 4 or 5 years. They potentially could be, with them securing Karl Towns for another, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards on a brand new deal. Jaden McDaniels on a brand new deal. Naz Reid on a brand new deal. Nikhil Alexander on a brand new deal. They have 5 young, talented players they're kind of going to roll with. And then you add like a Mike Conley, someone right now who could be there, serviceable, be a really good starting point guard as he has been his whole career. They have like the ins and outs of the team. Kyle Anderson, a couple other good vets that they have there. So they're a pretty solid team, have a chance to make some noise this year. But I think that sign really secured their future with Jaden being an elite defender and being young as well.
I want you to compare this, the way they're building around Anthony Edwards, and this is going to be his 4th season, to what the Dallas Mavericks have done with Luka. This is going to be Luka's 6th year, and he's done nothing but give them first-team All-NBA efforts.
Yeah.
And the way, listen, you're really lucky if you're an NBA team and you get to draft a generational talent like a Luka or Anthony Edwards, one of these guys.
Yep.
And what you have is you have a certain window to build around those guys. I think everyone knows. The Cavs couldn't do it with LeBron that first go around, right? Like they had the Larry Hughes and the Mo Williams, and it just didn't work out. They got 60 wins.
Yeah.
Went to the finals one time.
But it wasn't even competitive.
Right. You had all these years with LeBron James, maybe the best player of all time, and they didn't really do a good job, I would say, in my opinion, of building around him. How would you compare what they've done with Anthony Edwards with what they've done with Luka in Dallas?
I think it's 2 different types, in my opinion. I think Minnesota is building with Ant to grow in the future, very similar to kind of what OKC is doing with Shea. Obviously, OKC is a much more extreme version. They have tons of young players, and they only really want young players, and they have 37 picks and all that. But if you look at what Minnesota's doing, it doesn't look like right now they're saying we're going to win the finals this year. I mean, they did go get Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley, so I'll give them that. But other than that, it seems like all the young players are kind of putting around them, the Naz Reids, the Jaden, signing them to these big deals. They're really kind of securing a young cast to like grow with Ant, because they're all like in their 2nd, 3rd year. They're all around the same age.
Right.
Their locker room's very young right now, with the exception of a couple of vets. That's by design. Everyone else is fairly really young. So they are trying to maybe win 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
Right.
And they're trying to make sure they go farther this year than they did last year. And they're trying to build. Where like Luka is in his 6th season. He's trying to win right now, especially since he already went to the conference finals already. Minnesota hasn't experienced the conference finals, or even thing near. They were standing on the tables when they went to the
play
after winning the play-in, I think.
Right.
Just for going to the playoffs. You know what I mean? That just tells you like where, Dallas is like, they bring in a Kyrie Irving, a bunch of veteran guards, Tim Hardaway Jr., Seth Curry. They got a bunch of veteran guards, Kleber, essentially the same team back with added a couple pieces.
Yeah.
They're trying to like run it back with that team and like go farther in the playoffs again. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, they're just 2 different teams. Now if you're asking me which ones looks better, I think Minnesota's
right. I think you made a really good point. When you do it the route of building young players around them, you might not experience immediate success.
Yes,
but it does look good long term. I like their outlook. With the Mavs, they had immediate. They went to the conference finals early with Luka. They experienced immediate success, but as far as their future, it is a little more uncertain, I would say.
No, it's very uncertain because.
But when you're uncertain, your future's uncertain. You're only a couple moves or trades or signings away from getting right back on track. When you have a guy like Luka.
Well, that's the good thing that Dallas has. They have one of the top 5 players in the NBA right now. So they're only ever going to be a piece or 2 away from winning a championship because you have such a big piece already there that no one else really has other than maybe 2 or 3 teams. Giannis, Jokic, whoever else you want to put in there. Maybe a Tatum or something like that. So it's a matter of who they could pair with Luka. I don't want to be like crucial or critical of Dallas, and what they've done. It's harder than easy, easier said than done. It has been tough. Luka, the team that he went to the conference finals with was not that great of a team. He was just being, and they had good players. Spencer Dinwiddie could hoop, and Jalen Brunson is obviously a talented guard, and so is obviously Luka. So they're very guard heavy, and they're able to kind of will their way there.
Yeah, and we don't really know what was going on with the Suns, right? In
Suns
that 7-game series,
Suns they had a lot of internal stuff going on because the Suns were a better team, and that just ended really weird. You know what I mean? And then with KD last year, we didn't really get the full look because he was hurt.
Yeah.
And then he was healthy, and they just weren't as great either. They didn't have the.
We'll get into the Suns later. I wanted to talk about them. They only have Devin Booker left from that 2021 Finals team. That's just crazy. 2 years later.
That is crazy.
Totally, that is crazy.
So yeah, I don't know. Dallas is. I mean, you look at that.
Well, the reason I brought Dallas up is because Josh Green just signed 3 years, 41.
I like that signing.
Yeah.
I like Josh Green. He can defend. He hits the corner three well. He's got to shoot better from the three from the break and above.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good corner three shooter. If he can improve his 3-point shooting all around, continue to be a really good defender, continue to maintain his athleticism where he's still finishing above the rim when he does get an opportunity, whether it's slashing or a quick straight line drive, where he can drive and go dunk or go finish because he can jump. I think he can be an athletic, hard-nosed, energy guy. You know, Denver had a Bruce Brown last year, essentially something like that really thrives off being a role player.
And like you said, they're looking
White.
they need more young, more youthful energy out there.
That's the only but it's really him and Hardy. And Hardy was like a guy who's like a two-way, and then now he's scoring more. So now they convert. I don't know his whole story, but like,
he's at times a talented scorer.
Yes.
And you'll see stat lines where it's like he played 15 minutes, had 15 points randomly, and then with guys like that, obviously I think it's more consistency is the issue. But
yeah.
He's able to fill it up.
So that's like two young guards, but they're not nothing. What Minnesota has in terms of like Naz Reid alone.
Oh, you know who we're not talking
Jaden
about
McDaniels
is them drafting Derek Lively. We're talking about a 19-year-old 7-footer.
I love him.
Yeah,
he's been great from Duke.
Yeah,
and people really slept on him. He's been perfect for Luka and Kyrie. He's great in the pick and roll. He's great at picking and rolling quickly. He has a natural feel if you watch him. People who don't know basketball just think a guy picks and then you just roll. Like he has a natural feel of how long to hold on to that pick before he pops right to the rim. And it's like one step, all with coordination, and he's popping up in the air and going to get that ball and finishing. He has it down. You could already see it at a young age. So he gets, just think when he starts mixing in a little 15-footer where he can now mix in every once in a while, a little pick and pop, just keep the defense honest. But as long as he's like contesting at the rim, and picking and rolling like that, that's another young piece actually. Yeah. Now that you're naming some names, yeah. So maybe Dallas and Minnesota they're similar. I still think Minnesota's situation is much better.
Right.
But Dallas has done well, especially with Lively. And I like Josh Green.
And I think for a guy like Lively, it's got to be a 7-footer, a big man, a young big man's dream to play with a guy like Luka. Like you think about a guy like Tyson Chandler, who was drafted by the Bulls, was a young guy, straight out of high school. And you didn't see until he played with Chris Paul in New Orleans, his ability to, you know what I mean? He would impact the game the way he ended up doing it.
100%. Yeah, it's
right.
True.
And then you see Ayton with Chris Paul and what he was able to do with him. And, he really exploded and took off when Chris Paul was running the points. So with Lively, you get drafted with a guy like Luka. I think immediately he's going to be able to impact the game. So yeah, he's really lucky there. I think they're lucky to have him. It works out both ways.
Yeah, I agree. Dallas has a couple exciting pieces. They are more win now. And I don't think anybody has their team winning now. I just don't think they're deep enough or really just, in all fairness, good enough. They're very exciting with their 2-point guards, 2 shooting guards, 2 guards, whatever you want to call them. They're electrifying players. So they're must-see TV, I can tell you that. Dallas is like my top 2 or 3, maybe even 1 most fun team to watch on TV. I just don't.
Is that the most exciting backcourt?
Oh, yeah.
Ever
it's just they're both like one-on-one, just handing out just brutal highlights, versus defense. I definitely think they're the most exciting backcourt in the NBA right now, just in terms of watching, from a watching aspect.
Right.
I love watching Dallas, but in terms of how good they'll be as a team, like going far in the playoffs and beating these other like just heavy, full casted, well put together teams like a Denver or even Phoenix.
Let me tell you something right now. If they're like a 7 or 8 seed, let's make that up, and you're a 1 seed, you're the Nuggets or you're Phoenix or whoever, and you're first round, your reward is playing Kyrie and Luka. And Luka in the playoffs has proven to be
just
absolutely
problematic.
Animal. Yeah. Not the easiest walk on the park.
And neither's Kyrie in the playoffs. Yeah. Having both of them kind of just going back and forth, that's a good point. That's what it could be.
Right.
That's what you want it to be. You kind of want them to squeeze in and then see a Phoenix or Denver versus them first round just to see like what happens. Kind of makes good TV.
Well, that's just how good the West is. I think every matchup we have in the playoffs in the first round
will be. Think about Minnesota, Memphis, Sacramento, Golden State. I mean, all these teams are so exciting.
Right.
So yeah, we got a really exciting year of basketball ahead of us.